So GVM upgrades can be done prior to first registration or after registration. When they're done after registration, it comes under the purview of the state governments, and it's called a state compliance for that reason. Now, these upgrades are still subject to a whole set of rules which are nationally governed, or supposed to be nationally governed, but states don't have to comply. And these rules are called the VSB 14, Vehicle Standards Bulletin 14. Google it and you'll find it online and readily downloadable. So you can actually check and see what the regulations are that apply to vehicle modifications after registration. When we're doing a GVM upgrade using a kit that's federally certified, it's actually quite an easy process. The state governments recognise that it's a federally certified kit, the vehicle itself is suitable for the kit, it's been installed in a manufacturer's recognised facility and so on, and then signed off by an engineer. But there are some traps and people do come unstuck a little bit through having other modifications to the vehicle. And this is where knowledge of VSB 14 is quite handy because it covers wheels, tyres, shocks, other components, suspension components, and which ones are modifiable, which ones aren't, and what happens when you do modification upon modification, what can happen. And so let's talk about the main causes of issue for cars which come in here for a state compliance GVM upgrade. And not surprisingly, top few are tyres. Tyres which are too wide for a rim. Each tyre has got a minimum and maximum size of rim it's allowed to be fitted to, and it's not uncommon for tyres to come in which are fitted to a too small size rim. The other issue is tyres which are too tall. Again, there's limits on how tall a tyre can be, and coming in a set of 35s is going to cause problems. 33 is about the maximum you can really run and not cause too much problem. The other issue we see quite often is aftermarket rims, and the problem with aftermarket rims is the offset. The VSB 14 stipulates you can change the offset of the rim no more than 25 millimetres from factory, and there are loads of rims out there, particularly fitted to utes, which come in as zero offset or very low offsets, when the manufacturer might have started with a 30 offset or a 35 or a 40 offset. And so these wheels, while they look cool and they pump the tyres out, they're not actually legal, and the engineer will flag those, and Transport SA will demand you take them off if you try to come in with for a GVM upgrade, or any inspection for that matter. The other issue which causes problems is the fitment of non-standard suspension components, such as upper control arms or adjustable arms in the rear and so on. The various state governments look at those, and naturally they want some comfort that these things are actually up to the task, and so they will ask for engineering certificates for those as well. The state compliance process, when we do an upgrade to your vehicle for a GVM, GCM upgrade, for example, does not include those other ancillary items because it's not in the scope of our work. However, the engineer employed to sign off the vehicle can include them as part of their scope of their work, but there are additional charges for those items. So within the scope of modifications of the vehicle, just remember that some modifications can affect other modifications. And for example, you have a 33-inch tyre and then you fit a lift kit, you'll get caught out with the height of your mud flaps at the rear. The VSB 14 says that the mud flaps can be no more than 300 millimetres off the ground, but a 2-inch lift with a 2-inch tyre and all mud flaps will exceed that. So there's potential area that needs to be further modified to make the car legal. So our process tries to capture these things as best we can, but the engineer on the day will inspect the vehicle and will find other issues that may or may not need rectification before you take the car in for inspection at your state government body. Thanks for watching. I'm Derek from Lovells Adelaide. Please click the subscribe link below and keep an eye out for future videos that we have coming.